Hello everyone, welcome to your weekly forecast for the week of August 21st through the 27th of 2017. I am Kiana Mayfield from LibraLunaCenter.com, and this week we are having the very beginning of the week, as many of you all around the world should know by now, is the total solar eclipse in Leo, 28 degrees on the 21st on Monday, I believe at around 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And this Leo new moon total solar eclipse will be in conjunction to Mars in Leo, the North Node in Leo. It will be conjuncting the Regulus degree, as well as Regulus itself, the fixed star in the sky, which is at 0 degrees Virgo. And it will be conjuncting loosely Mercury retrograde 8 degrees Virgo, and trining over to Saturn retrograde in Sagittarius 21 degrees, and an exact trine to Uranus in Aries retrograde 28 degrees. And as this happens, Mars in Leo will be an exact sextile to Jupiter in Libra 20 degrees, as well as trining over to Saturn. So a lot going on Monday, right? And this has been a build up over the weekend as we have built up to this total solar eclipse, as everyone has been talking about it, right? Which is typical Leo. But in the build up period, in the prequel to this solar eclipse, we have had a long new moon, right? So the moon went into Leo exactly on the 19th of August, and it has stayed until August 21st, right? Until the total solar eclipse. But after the eclipse, the moon will go into Virgo as the sun goes into Virgo. So there will be a total 5-day period of the new moon energy, of this planting of the new intention for an entire new chapter in our lives, right? So it is very significant indeed on that basis alone. But looking at the solar eclipse itself, we were having a grand fire trine kite, right? And a grand fire trine kite is a portal. A grand trine itself is a portal into a new frequency, but it being in fire is a portal into our soul frequency, right? Our spiritual source, tapping us into what drives us at the core of our individuality, right? And with it being a kite, as Jupiter is a part of this aspect, a part of this overall pattern that it is opening us into this new shift, right? Jupiter. We have Jupiter at the apex of this kite. And Jupiter at the top of this kite is urging us to ascend into the balancing of both of our polarities. Jupiter in Libra, right? Balancing the yin and the yang, balancing our inner masculine and our inner feminine, balancing the inner and the outer. Within everything around us, as it is a social planet, Jupiter is expanding our sense of individuality around us, right? How can we see ourselves in everything and everyone around us? And a kite, in and of itself, urges us to fly. And we are learning how to fly into our soul frequency, how to become our own divinity, how to step into being a bearer of universal consciousness. And the reason why this eclipse in particular is very, very potent and very, very important, one of the most important eclipses in our entire life, right, in our lifetime, is because not only is there a grand fire trine kite in the middle of this eclipse, in the middle of the solar eclipse, right? And not only is it because it's in the sign of Leo, the ruler of the zodiac, right? The ruler of our solar system, of our particular solar system. Leo ruled by the sun, right? The bearer of our entire universal plan for our particular solar system, right? And not only is it because it's a fixed sign, but because All fixed signs in and of themselves are initiations, are gateways into universal consciousness. And this is so because fixed signs are the signs of power, right? We have cardinal signs, which are the signs of life, the rhythm of life, right? We have Aries, the beginning of the new year, the beginning of the springing forth out of the earth, right? Out of the collective unconscious. We spring to life through Aries. Cancer sort of focalizes that life force. Another cardinal sign, the cardinal water, focalizes the fire that surged forth through Aries, through the form of feelings and emotions and memory, right? Makes it more concrete, more personal. Libra, the sign of life, through interacting with the outer world, right? Through the mirror reflection, through relationships. Relationships are our greatest point of realization of our selfhood. That was stirred in Aries, right? As we meet ourselves through the other, we transform ourselves. This is a form of life potential, life unfolding. And Capricorn consolidates the life that was met in Libra. It consolidates it by making it solid, making it concrete, making it official, by mastering a portion of the earth. Mutable signs are the signs of mentality. They are the signs of expanding into the mind, right? As the mind absorbs and assimilates all the experiences that the cardinal and the fixed signs bring, the mutable separates the wheat from the chaff, and the mutable expands outwardly, right? Through the mind. Mutable signs are the playing field themselves, right? They urge us to evolve. We have Gemini, the sign, the personal mental sign that expands itself through finding its shadow in the other. It's sort of like Libra, but it does not come from the basis of meeting the other on a mirror-like basis. It comes to the other in all different directions, right? To figure out all different polarities, all different aspects, all different worlds, all different languages, to discover itself, right? And to form a sort of mental database for its experiences. We have Virgo, the earth mutable sign, which is, as Gemini has picked apart all different types of data, right? Virgo separates the wheat from the chaff. Virgo decides what is useful, what is pure, what is needed, and how we develop our minds, right? Virgo is the sign of initiation into the collective, which comes through life potential in Libra. Then we have Sagittarius, the fire mutable sign, which Saturn is in right now. And Sagittarius is all about the collective mind, right? The collective expansion of the mind. We go back into philosophy, different cultures, how different cultures developed, civilization itself, right? Managing the power of the citizens of that culture. How the individuals managed their power within the collective through art, through philosophy, through religion, through belief systems, right? How a culture established itself, and how we are establishing ourselves through our belief systems. This is the sign of Sagittarius, and this is where we have been learning to master since 2015. The end of 2015 is when Saturn went into Sagittarius. And the last mutable sign, Pisces, the water, is the collective unconscious, right? It is the world mind, right? The world's mind is Pisces because it has assimilated and absorbed all of the data from all of the signs, right? To make up the entire experience of humanity. From all different timelines, from all different karmic patterns, from all different karmic cycles, right? It all merges together into this almost womb-like form of mentality. It is the place from which everything originates. It is God itself, the mind of God. And then we get to the fixed signs, which meets in the middle between life and the mind. As these two polarities are pulled together, they meet in the fixed signs, right? And we have Taurus, the first fixed sign, the earth fixed sign, right? Which is the assimilation of Aries and Gemini, which is the establishment, the power, and the concentration of our resources, of our life potential, of our values, of our standards. It is life itself, as life springs forth through Aries, but is consolidated and released and concentrated in the form of power through Taurus. Then we have Leo, which is what we're experiencing now, which is what we're learning to master now within ourselves. The fixed sign of fire. Leo, the sign of the child, between Cancer and Virgo. Fixed signs after equinoxes are different than fixed signs after solstices. Taurus, the sign after the equinox, the spring equinox, is a sign of concentration, the fixed power sign of concentration. Fixed signs after equinoxes are power signs of concentration, right? Which is Taurus and Scorpio. Fixed signs after the solstices are power signs of release. And Leo releases the inner child within us. And what the inner child is, because it's not just going back into history per se, our own personal history, even though Leo does represent our personal history as well, the personal history of Cancer, going back into our feelings, our culture, how we were raised, how we developed ourselves as individual beings. Leo is releasing that. Leo is glorifying that, making it bright and big and bold, making it a part of reality, making it something you cannot miss. And Virgo was constantly the voice of reason, the voice of criticism in the form of needing to develop ourselves, needing to purify ourselves, needing to make ourselves better, right? Better through purity of soul, purity of intention, and purity of character, to make way for the meeting of the other in Libra. Then we come to the third fixed sign after the equinox, after the autumn equinox, is Scorpio. And Scorpio is a power sign of concentration once again, but the concentration is in forming our power through the other, right? Alchemizing our power with the other as we merge with the other, as we merge with the collective, as we merge with the relationships in our lives, the mirror reflection of ourselves, we become a greater whole. We alchemize our energies together, and Jupiter is getting ready to enter this sign, so pay attention to how the whole zodiac plays out. Because it's not just one or the other, right? You're either an Aries or a Libra or a Taurus or a Scorpio or an Aquarius, right? All of the signs in some way speak to life processes within us all. And they're teaching us how to cycle our life potential through every single season. through every single season, and each planet transiting in the sky has a season in each of the signs, has a cycle within each of the signs. And when we come to points in our history where they're meeting up once again, where they haven't met up in a long time, it's starting a completely
new brand cycle.
Brand new cycle, which is what we're experiencing now with the total solar eclipse in Leo. And so Scorpio is the fixed power sign of concentration that alchemizes your energy with the energy of the other and makes it something more than what we are individually. It is the sign of intimacy, the sign of power itself, the sign of sexuality being one of the most powerful forces in our universe, right? And then we come to the last fixed sign after the solstice, the winter solstice, Aquarius. Again, the power sign of release again of the inner child, but this time it is the Christ that originated in Capricorn, right? Because we come to the Christ through knowing who we are beneath the surface level, right? Whereas Leo glorifies its origins, Aquarius does not quite fit in with its origins and therefore either rebels, transcends, or brings life to it, right? Breaks out of it in some way, gives to others, expands it into the collective. It is the power sign of the release of the godhood within each and every one of us, right? As we expand our minds to encompass the mind of God, we become miniature gods, right? Co-creators of universal consciousness. And the Leo Aquarius polarity is all about this, right? Is all about the release of our individuality and as well our inner Christ, our inner God, our inner child. And with the South Node being in Aquarius right now, we cannot look to society, to the collective, to figure out who we are, right? The Aquarian archetype is being turned on its head because you cannot know the collective without knowing the individual first, right? And so with this solar eclipse in Leo and the lunar eclipse in Aquarius, which was the elimination of what has been a cycle for many years now, since 2008 especially is when this particular cycle began, and which we are ending now and coming to a new phase, right? How we deal with the Aquarian archetype is very personal and individual to each and every one of us, because on the flip side of that, we're dealing with the Leo archetype being downloaded, being reset. And with this new moon total solar eclipse, this is the release of the Christ within, the release of the individuality of our soul frequency. As we learn to become a co-creator of universal consciousness, as we learn to mirror God by creating, by projecting our hearts into the world, as the sun does, right? As we become our own mini solar system, everything in our world sort of revolves around us, right? It's mirrored back to us through the South Node in Aquarius. But before that happens, right, we need to purge everything that has repressed our individuality, everything that has kind of put our heart in a cage, right? Disconnected us from our heart, disconnected us from our soul frequency through mass consciousnness, through the overemphasis of the collective. And I was speaking before of how this total solar eclipse in particular is the point in our history where we are coming to the splitting of the earth, right? We're coming to the split in human consciousness. And what this means, this goes back to Atlantean times as well. It's kind of a reversal of history in a sense. But the splitting of the earths is not literal in the sense that, there's going to be another earth in the sky. The splitting of the earth is, and this is not divisive in any sense of the word either, because it is a choice. The splitting of the earth is, in human consciousness, the splitting of those who choose to remain asleep, those who choose to give their power away to the collective, or those who choose to become their own divinity, right? Who choose to live in their heart frequency and thereby creating their own earth, right? You create your own earth through the projection of your heart, through the consolidation of your heart frequency, through the crystallization of your soul. As you bring this frequency down to earth, as you choose and decide to live within it, so your world will reflect it back to you, right? And everyone around you could be experiencing a different world. And in a sense, this has already been happening, but it will be much, much more pronounced now, because there is momentum back of this decision. There is momentum as we are entering a portal into the next 9 to 18 years that this solar eclipse is implanting right now. There will be an acceleration of whatever frequency we choose to live on, right? Of whatever earth we decide to see. And everyone around you may see the world, may see their world crumbling before their eyes. But this is because this is the earth they decided to live on, right? They have decided to give their power away to the collective, to give their power away to world events. And this may or may not sound as if I'm saying live in your head, right? This is not the point. Living in your head is not the point. Living in your heart is, right? And as you live in your heart, it is filtering your consciousness through the lens of your heart. And so whatever happens around you, whatever you see happening around you, you will either be able to see the light or you will not. And this is a personal decision for each and every one of us, because deciding to see the light decides our fate, decides our earth. Because when we see the light, ultimately, we are seeing ourselves. And when we see the dark, we are also seeing ourselves obscured. This new moon will be an exact trine to Uranus, which is an acceleration of our higher consciousness, right? Which is the allowing of the changes towards our higher consciousness, our higher evolution, right? Allowing things to be unpredictable, allowing things to transcend what they've been before, allowing ourselves to transcend our own limitations, raising ourselves to a higher level. And with it also in trine to Saturn, this is aligning us with our higher path, right? Our higher destiny, our higher calling. And having the courage to believe in it and the courage to walk down it before Saturn stations direct, which is happening this week as well, on the 25th. And with Regulus, the fixed star that rules regality, that rules the royalty of our solar system, right? In the sign of Virgo, the new regality, the new royalty on our planet, if you choose to be a part of the elite, whatever that means, right? Whatever that means for you. The elite are those who are leading humanity versus following. If you are to be a part of this new consciousness of regality, right? Of royalty, to become royal blood within yourself, right? Not literally, but soulfully, right? Creating a new lineage of generations of souls, right? As you implement the regality, the royal blood within your own soul, as you implement it, right? As you become a higher force of consciousness within yourself, as you become your own inner Christ child, right? It affects not only your body, not only your life, but the lives that follow your own, right? The generations that come after you. Leo rules our lineage. Leo rules royalty. Leo rules legacy. And what our legacy will be is determined now, right? It's determined by choosing to become the new elite, choosing to become the new royalty through the integration of the Regulus star system. And Regulus, being in the sign of Virgo, is the new elite now on our planet are those who choose to live in service towards the light. Those who choose to use what they've been gifted with, who they are, the purity of their souls, right? The purity of their souls, the purity of their vessel as well, their body, determines their consciousness, determines the bandwidth of their frequency, and the purity to be initiated into the collective consciousness, into the universal, right? It determines your level of royalty. The more you are giving to the world, the more your soul is basically upgraded. The more your soul becomes more, I hate to use the term more or elite, but more royal, right? It becomes more of itself, right? More radiant. As it proves itself, right? Proves itself through its work, right? Proves itself through its mastery of self, of purity of vessel, by becoming the conductor, by becoming the temple, by becoming the sacred chalice of universal consciousness, right? Ultimately, we must all become vessels of God, vessels of the soul, for us to move forward and progress on this planet, right? This is the new level of royalty. Royalty is no longer just Leo, pride, or personality, individuality, not just the expression of yourself, but through the giving and the service of yourself. It's not enough to just exist. You must utilize your existence. You must make it useful to society, useful to the collective, useful to everything and everyone around you. That doesn't mean you need to give up everything for everyone else. That means you must live in service towards something greater than yourself. And it can be through the simplest acts. Virgo rules humility as well. Keep it simple, keep it natural, keep it close to home, keep it grounded. Grounding your soul frequency is the key to living in this new age, right? This new age. Because it's all about the cleanliness and the purity of your own vessel. As you cloud it with everyone else's judgments, opinions, supposed facts, right? Supposed theories, abstract concepts that you must live into, mold yourself into, right? It becomes less pure, it becomes less clean, it becomes less filtered, and it becomes more obscure, more confusing, more unnatural, right? Less simple, becomes complex, and we don't need complexity. Complexity is the opposite of what we're moving into. And with Mercury in Virgo retrograde during this solar eclipse, even though we are coming to this big release of power, big release of our individuality, of our soul, of our heart frequency, stepping into it, right? Stepping into the new chapter, stepping into a whole new chapter for the next 18 years. 9 to 18 years, right? And entering into a portal, a very, very rare portal that is opening us to this soul frequency, opening us to our fire potential, right? Opening us to a brand new reality. Mercury in Virgo is questioning reality at the same time, right? So even though it is the big aha moment, even though it is the big release of self, right? Of what your heart desires. You know what you feel drawn to, what you feel called to do, what you are, who you are, and what you want, right? It's all laying on the table. And all you need is the courage. All you need is the courage to live into it, right? All you need is the courage to take the action to get it, to fix it, to live into it, to become it, right? But the Mercury in Virgo is still loose ends needing to be tied, right? You're looking at how you can fix your reality through solving your own riddles, solving your own puzzle. And Mercury in Virgo ruling logic, ruling our definition of reality, right? With it retrograde, it is questioning our ideas of reality, questioning our ideas of what is concrete, what is logical, what is fact from fiction, right? The lines, the edges are blurred. And how we normally solve our problems, how we normally go about our day-to-day lives is completely changing in a different way. We are learning to solve our puzzles within ourselves as we come face to face with Neptune, right? With Mercury opposing Neptune as it went retrograde. We're looking at our dreams. We're looking at what could be the seeding of everything we've ever wanted, right? Neptune kind of dangles that carrot in the air for us, but Mercury in Virgo is like, how do I get there? How do I fix? There's a whole bunch of cleaning, a whole bunch of purging, a whole bunch that needs to be dealt with in my reality in order for me to get there. There's a lot of work that I must do, right? But with it retrograde, it's saying, yes, of course, with it being in Virgo, there is a lot to clean up. There is a lot to fix. There is a lot to solve, right? But it's not in the normal way we do it. We can find loopholes. The logical way is not necessarily the best way because this is the vision of our heart. And we reach our heart not through logic. We do not reach our heart through logic. We have to find our own way. So moving on Wednesday, August 23rd, the sun moves into Virgo and the moon moves into Virgo, which is, again, the moon being in the later degrees of Virgo. So it's not necessarily a new moon, but we're still in the new moon sort of frequency, right? We're still having the new moon tonality ringing throughout the air, right? And with it being in Virgo, this is us moving into 30 days and 30 nights of cleaning, purging, purifying ourselves, developing, readying ourselves for the journey that has been made a vision, made real to us through this solar eclipse, right? As we witness the chapter unfolding, as we witness the new chapter that awaits us, that we're stepping into, that we're leaping into, that we must follow, must take action to do. Virgo is actually the practical steps doing it, right? Virgo is the day-to-day grinding of what goes into this, right? How can we clean up the mess? So Virgo is making us put our bootstraps on, basically, and finding solutions to our problems. This is where we find solutions to our problems. So anything that you've been worrying about or nitpicking about or wondering about or questioning or doubting, everything is slowly going to be resolved throughout the Virgo season. So this happens the 23rd, Wednesday. And again, with Mercury being retrograde, Mercury being the ruler of Virgo, this is us knowing that the way we normally solve our problems is not available anymore. We must find a new way within ourselves. So this is a lot of soul searching, a lot of digging, a lot of lateral thinking, if you know what that is, right? Versus logical thinking versus linear thinking. Lateral is taking patterns from multiple different angles, multiple different systems, multiple different modes of thought, right? And combining them together to create a unique solution. So you're needing to be more creative, using more of your right brain, right? To solve your riddle, to solve your puzzle. And this is not necessarily comfortable for everyone. as we move into the Virgo season, because Virgo likes to be practical, likes to be organized, likes everything to be efficient and concrete and logical and linear, right? Nothing too abstract, nothing too blurry. But we're needing to be blurry to get it to be concrete, which is the paradox right now. We are living in a paradoxical reality right now. And it's not going to be fully understood until September 5th, which is when Mercury stations direct in Leo, which isn't until next week, right? So, or 2 weeks from now, actually. So on Thursday, August 24th, we're having Venus in Cancer squaring Uranus retrograde in Aries, 28 degrees exact, as well as in trine to Chiron retrograde. And this is completing a cycle that began with the conjunction between Venus and Uranus in Aries on June 3rd, earlier this year. And this is happening as the moon is in Libra, which rules Venus again. So it's a very Venusian-centered day, right? Thursday. So this is right before Saturn turns direct. And Venus being at 28 degrees of Cancer, this is very very emotionally pressured degree, right? Emotionally pressured to either make a commitment or to feel comfortable, right? To figure out what we feel, right? To feel good. Venus in Cancer ultimately wants to feel good. And if it in square to Uranus, this is realizing that we're ready. It's a very excitable energy, right? Venus square Uranus is very excitable, but it's also uncomfortable. It's also very restless. It's trying to make itself feel more alive, right? To raise the bar in what we feel and what we desire and what we attract, right? Not only in one-on-one personal relationships, even though it is very relationship-oriented day with the moon in Libra, but also in our finances, in our work life, in everything we attract, right? And our personal sense of experience. In and of itself, Venus rules how we filter and what we like and dislike about reality, about our experiences in reality. As we experience life, right? It's all coming back to us through Venus, through our personal Venus sign, and filtering all of our experiences through our personal preferences, right? What we personally like and dislike, which is what Venus represents. What we love and what we hate, right? And this polarity of love and hate is the ultimate, the lesson, the archetype of Venus. Because as we learn what we love and hate, we create our individuality. So that's just a little snippet of what Venus actually is, right? It's not just relationships, finances, and work and career, right? There's a more subtle process going on, right? It's the filtering of our personal experiences. It's the filtering of our sense of polarity, our sense of magnetism, our sense of attraction. And okay, so with it again in square to Uranus, this is ready to start changing our relationships, our finances, our sense of, I'm saying work-life balance for some reason, whatever that means to the rest of you. But this is realizing that we must reach beyond our comfort levels with Venus in Cancer. And with it being a waxing square, this is needing to grow, right? This is needing to incarnate in some specific form, right? So look at the relationships in your life. Look at the projects that you're developing. Look at the career you're trying to cultivate. The finances you're trying to attract to you, right? The new life that you're trying to build. The new desires that you're trying to fulfill, right? And is it all raising you to a higher level? Because this is what you need. This is what you need because you know with Uranus and Aries, this is us realizing that we have to be different. This is realizing that we're changing minute by minute, right? Becoming better people. Changing our sense of self. Uranus in Aries is about evolving our individuality, evolving our sense of self through becoming almost superhuman-like through our expression of self. And as we ascend to higher levels of our self, our relationships and our projects and our career and our life in general, our lifestyle needs to match up to that. And where have we been somewhat comfortable? Behind the lines of our standards, below the lines of our standards, right? We're upping the bar. And it's realizing that in order to get the life we want, we have to make bold risks, bold decisions, big choices, right? And so we come to Friday, August 25th, Saturn stations direct, 21 degrees Sagittarius. The moon will be still in Libra, conjuncting Jupiter, and Venus will be at the 29th degree of Cancer, which again is adding extra emphasis on emotional pressure, right? Needing to make an emotional decision of some sorts. And so Saturn stationing direct at long last since I believe around the beginning of April is when it went retrograde. This is where we've been stuck on a certain direction, right? Where we've been stuck on our supposed path, right? Where we've needed to, okay, before I make this big bold adventure, this big bold leap, right? Before I develop my life further, I have to develop myself inwardly, right? Saturn turning direct is about us seeing that the trail in front of us is clear now, right? Because we are clear now. We have reclaimed our authority, and so we can take our inner authority and externalize it. We can become outer authorities now. We can reach for our goals. We can reach for the big plans and decisions we made beginning December 2016, which is when Saturn was at 21 degrees of Sagittarius the first time, right? The big goals and the decisions we were trying to make between December 2016 and April 2017 can now be concretized. We can now move forward towards it, right? Because now we know what our power is. Now we know what we're capable of, as Saturn was retrograde since April, as we have developed ourselves within, as we have trailed our own inner path, right? Now we see the path in front of us. We know which direction to go. And we are deciding once and for all to walk down it. And again, this speaks to relationships, because Venus being at the last degree of Cancer and the moon being in Libra, conjuncting Jupiter, this is needing to expand our sense of comfort in the world. And Jupiter, again, Jupiter being in Libra, the sign of Saturn's exaltation, funnily enough, and Jupiter ruling Sagittarius, which Saturn is in, it's kind of they're playing off of each other. They're playing off of each other. And we can start moving on the plans and goals for the realizations we've had about ourselves and our path during the eclipse, right? So big opportunities, big chances to move forward once and for all, where we've been stuck, where we've been somewhat at a pause, at a standstill. We can begin to move forward on what we've been planning in the background, right? So we get to the weekend, August 26th through the 27th, and we have the Sun conjuncting Mercury retrograde, which is an inferior conjunction which means Mercury is closest to the Earth at this point. We're getting a download of whatever Mercury is trying to communicate to us, right? The messages we are receiving now are from the heavens, are divine, are fated, very, very karmic, right? And a new Mercury cycle begins. And as this happens, Mars will be in Leo still, 24 degrees, but it will be an exact conjunction to the North Node. And Venus, at the same time, enters Leo, leaving Cancer. And the moon in Scorpio will be squaring Venus as it enters Leo. So that's a really very potent, very passionate aspect, right? And at the same time, Jupiter will be in exact sextile to Saturn, 21 degrees, as Saturn has just went direct. So we get into very, 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 not necessarily high pressure, very passionate, very, very, very motivational, right? Very powerful times, right? This whole week is power aspect after power aspect. But it's all positive. It's all leading us towards the path of our dreams, all leading us towards our destiny, right? And it's all about the decisions, the centeredness of self that we arrive at with the solar eclipse in Leo at the beginning of the week. That is kind of leading this whole week forward, right? So with the Sun-Mercury conjunction, inferior conjunction, and Mercury being very close to Earth, we are receiving major downloads, major pieces of the puzzle that we've been trying to solve, right? But they're not found on the outside. They're not found on the outside. Even though you may receive messages that point to it, it's not coming from the outside. And this is a very paradoxical way of understanding it, but it's coming to you from inside of you. It's whatever you receive during the weekend, especially on Saturday, August 26th, which is when this happens, Virgo, 3 degrees. Look at your chart, your personal chart, whatever planets it's making an aspect to, whether in Virgo, Sagittarius, Gemini, or Pisces, right? 3 degrees, you will be hit exactly with this inferior conjunction, which is pointing us towards solving the riddle within ourselves, right? We're looking at, as we have been teetering on the edge of our understanding, right? As we've been trying to find the answers, the solutions to our problems, we're finding it within. We find the solutions, we find ways to fix our lives. It's all starting to make sense now, but it's within ourselves. So just be on the lookout, right? Mark this day for whatever messages you receive, because it's pointing to something inside yourself. It's pointing to something inside yourself that will solve the puzzle. Very potent form of understanding, right? And our blood is hot. Our blood is passionate, and it's ready to go. We're ready to take action, and taking action is what the universe is ultimately pulling us towards, as Mars in Leo is on top of the North Node, 24 degrees exact. Again, look to your personal natal chart for where this is spurring you to action, but we're realizing that we can't sit on the sidelines of our life anymore, right? We have to take the action, we have to take the risk, and it has to be bold, it has to be brilliant, and it has to be filled with the essence of ourself, right? It needs to be entirely personal. It needs to be entirely centered in the heart, as Mars is in Leo, right? So our heart is clear. As Venus goes into Leo, it is the revealing, the big open wide, right? And we kind of already got a glimpse of this with the solar eclipse, but it is even more the stepping into our heart frequency, right? Because Venus again speaks to the personal subjectivity of our filtration of our personal experiences, right? So as we operate throughout our lives, we're having multiple different experiences coming to us, but how we filter it, how we see it, what meaning we give to it is determined by Venus. And with Venus being in Leo, this is everything again being filtered through the heart. We're seeing our heart for what it is. And with the moon in Scorpio, entering Scorpio as Venus simultaneously enters Leo, squaring over, right? Creating a square. This is our true passion, our true heart becoming ultimately clear for us. We know what we like, we know what we don't like, we know what we want, we know what we don't want. And we can begin to move towards it again. The path is clear. And this is happening as the Sun-Mercury conjunction happens. So it's a definite sense of knowing your path, knowing whatever messages you're receiving are completely potent, are completely honest, and are completely centered in the heart. And they're from spirit. So they are leading us ultimately to the adventure of our dreams, to what we've always wanted all along. And with that, we start a completely new chapter. With Jupiter sextile Saturn, this is opening the gates. Opening the gates, getting on our high horse, and galloping into the sunset, basically, right? So I hope you all have a wonderful solar eclipse. Next week, I will be back to discuss the first quarter square of the moon in Sagittarius, which will come over to conjunct Saturn direct for the first time. And Mercury will retrograde back into Leo, the eclipse degree of Leo, and it will meet up with Mars on the eclipse degree, 28 degrees, and trine over to Uranus. So, again, this speaks to where we're going, with who, right, the specifics, who we are, our direction in life, our overall direction, our purpose, what we want, what we love, what we desire. All of this becomes ultimately, infinitely, transparently clear to us. For the first time, everything makes sense, right? And as well, I wanted to make this announcement to you guys. Mercury retrograde didn't want me for some reason to upload the August horoscopes for each and every sign. So I'm going to do a part 2 to this solar eclipse video, which will be a breakdown of what this whole eclipse season was about for each sign. It won't be separate videos. It will be a conglomerate video with all of the signs put together. So be on the lookout for that. The reason why, I know I could just go straight to September and do the horoscopes for each of the signs now because we're diving into that month already. This month is practically over already. But the reason why I'm coming back to the horoscopes for all of the signs is because August is a month where everything has shifted, right? We've come to the realization within each and every one of ourselves that is determining the path forward for the next several years of our lives, right? For the next decade. For the next decade, we're going to be looking back on August of 2017 with wherever we are a decade from now, right? And pointing it to, this was the start of it all. And each and every one of you need to know what that means for you, right? So, yes, be on the lookout for part 2 of this video, which will be coming out pretty soon. And of course, if you want a personal reading with me, I have links in the description below for you to do so. So again, everyone, thank you very much for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful solar eclipse. I hope you all get to see it in the sky. I will be seeing it hopefully sometime this morning. Will be since I'm living in the USA, I will be seeing it directly. So wherever you are, if you're not able to see it directly, I hope you can see at least I hope us USA people will be taking enough pictures for everyone in the world to see, which I'm sure you guys already are, because this solar eclipse was very, very, very promoted, right? Which I'm very excited about, because
It gets more and more people into astrology, which is a beautiful thing, isn't it?
So, thank you very much for watching. Don't mind my rambling. I hope you all have a wonderful solar eclipse in Leo. And I will see you all in part 2 of this video coming out this week, and as well with next week's forecast.